Hello everyone, I'm Annie Gibbins and you're listening to Memoirs of Successful Women, the podcast where you get to hear candid conversations with fascinating women from around the globe who share aspects of their business and life journey, how they measure their success and what they have learnt along the way. Well, hello everyone and welcome to Memoirs of Successful Women. Today I am delighted to introduce you to Tricia Parido, who is a recovery lifestyle enthusiast, speaker and writer, and she does that through Turning Leaves Recovery, life and wellness coaching. She's a nationally certified life coach. She's an international master addiction specialist and a professional life interventionist, so many things, with a psych degree in process, behavioral and chemical addiction, who loves to help change lives. So I'm really looking forward to sharing Tricia's journey of how she actually got to where she is now and what it means to the people that she serves. So welcome to the program, Tricia.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. It's so amazing to be here. And I, you know what? I just love to share my story. I haven't always been a speaker. I've been a recovery lifestyle enthusiast for, 8 short years. And I've been in practice and learning and teaching and coaching and just all of these wonderful things for what I consider to be a short period of time, considering I put a lot of years into my process, behavioral and chemical addictions, as well as a lot of years into recovery. So, and generally when I say, like there was a 30-year, battle with 25 years of recovery, people are like, it doesn't make sense. You're not that old, right? But you start like the second you were out of the womb. And the cool thing about it is, recovery journeys, whatever from, right? And we'll get to what I mean by recovery and addiction very soon, I'm sure. But, they get to happen. Recovery journeys get to happen in the way that suits you. And most people don't realize that. They think, they hear the words addiction, they hear the words recovery, they think down, out, ill, poorly functioning, need to be removed from your environment until such time that you can be put back in it, right? Like until such time that, either insurance stops covering or you're ready, right? And that's so not true. Sure, those levels of care are necessary for some, but not for all, right? And not all recovery journeys have that criteria in them, right? So, you take a sugar addiction, you don't got to go to a 30-day treatment program. You could, because sugar withdrawal can be extremely derailing, right? Like it's really uncomfortable to withdraw from sugar. But, truly you can systematically put together a recovery process from, that particular addiction on your own. But, I'd venture to say that we can with anything, right? And so, my life was filled with a lot of control needs. I spent a lot of my time when I was growing up feeling like my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions, my opinions, my beliefs, needs, wants, dreams, desires were not seen as value or valuable, not valid, right? I felt very dismissed and I felt very disposable. And so subsequently, I was also an overachiever. And so those two things played off of each other very, very well, because, I had this need to succeed, but I also had this need to be seen and heard and wanted or to feel that way anyway, because I'm sure I was, I just didn't think so. So, just doing overachiever things, in school and in competitive sports and in classical piano and just all the things. So anybody that knows anything knows that those behaviors right there are very common in different mental health situations. And so eating disorders, body image issues, body dysmorphia, restricting, because then, hey, if I can control what I eat and I can control what I can weigh, I can maybe control how, what's going on in my life. And which also feeds into being a trauma survivor of sexual assault, rape, and, domestic violence and things like that in my first 25 years. And, so there was a lot of that. So, I started my recovery journey started with anorexia, right? Like having to recover from that, because you can't exist at 88 pounds for very long. Right. And so, that's where that started. And, then, just as things unfolded, I started, just recovering from different things.
Was that a layered process? Were you acutely aware of the things you needed to recover from, or did the anorexia actually just went, well, this is critical, I don't know if I want to die over it, so that becomes the big thing. And then suddenly when you get that awareness through the treatment process, the recovery process, you suddenly go, oh, hello, I do actually have some other things I need to deal with here.
So, and this is where it's going to get super unique. I've always had that capability to pick myself up by the bootstraps, right? Like I'll let things get to that edge and then swoop myself up and just go, okay, I'm done with this. It's time to get healthy. So I did this polar swing and went into bodybuilding, and I was in the gym 3 days a week, 6 days a week, 3 hours a day. Wow. And, just went that extreme. And so it wasn't until much later in life, right? Because I met my husband at 26. I had my first child at 17 and definitely had a really great, solid relationship with him, even though my chemical addictions were going on. There was never, it never was got in the way of that, right? Like there was shared custody. So I had my every other weekends to go do the dangerous binge drinking and things like that, right? In my 20s. And so, but I met my husband at 26. And so our family combined, we have 5 children and very loving, filled with unconditional love, nothing wrong. But I remained a daily drinker.
Yeah.
And so, and always obsessive about the weight, and the body, the body image. Like I wasn't anorexic. I was very acutely aware of keeping that control without falling into an eating disorder or without falling into a food addiction, right? Like just like the alcoholic that says I'm just going to control my drinking. Well, I was doing that also, right? Like as long as I only have this much every day, I'm fine. Like I'm a highly functioning, person. And I was a highly functioning individual until anxiety set in. And then it was, prescribed, a medical provider prescribed Xanax to me. And those two don't go together. They're very dangerous. So we fast forward 5 years, I suddenly had an addiction that I'd never had before. So it was physiological.
Yeah.
Right. So it was physiological, and suddenly like I couldn't go without either. Like it was like, I would get the shakes and I would get the nausea, and I'm like, this is not cool. Like, no, I can't control. I couldn't control it. Right. Yeah. So, it was, okay, let me go find the program that I want to go to, because this isn't jiving for me. Went to treatment, came home. But where it sparked for me, it was in 2 places. One, it was in my recovery program that I chose, because it was very, very different. In fact, they're not even open anymore, but a lot of what I do, stems from some of the ways they did things. But the fact remains the same, that the discharge process was the same, right? Step down, do a little bit of outpatient, come to groups 3 times a week, right? Whatever. And then go to therapy once a week, and rely on social supports, find those AA meetings, find the eating disorder meetings, find and none of that sat really well for me, right? I was not a stranger to the rooms. I'm a firm believer of AA and all of that for who it works for. It worked for me for what it worked for in my 20s, which was, DUIs. But, for me, it wasn't gonna, I couldn't settle with just needing to go to meetings every day for the rest of my life, telling my story. Like, I wasn't okay with taking the label and owning it for the rest of my life. Like the kids that we say you're ADHD. Now they're suddenly walking around with this label for their whole life. When honestly, when their frontal lobe develops, generally they can work through it. You know, generally, not always. You know, but so this is where, and I know I shared this with you when I said, hey, I want to come on. Add, edit, delete started coming in for me. Right? Add, edit, delete, make it your own.
What does that mean? What does add, edit, delete mean to you?
It means that, well, and it's how I arrived at my mantra. This is my life too. It gets to look, feel, be however I want it to. Right? So if we have this treatment protocol, or we have this self-help model, right? Think of anybody that's listening, think of any self-help book that you've listened to, or any, say, Tony Robbins thing that you've gone to, or, you know, whoever, you know, you've gone to and listened to, and then you come home and you're like, I listened, I read, I was there, and, you know, it's still not working. And the problem is this: we're so desperately trying to fit our lives into the method or the modality of whatever guru created it. Right? Instead of fitting that method or modality into our lives and making it work for us, with us, in conjunction to our life, right? So think about it. When you leave a residential program, you go home to the same house, the same spouse, the same bills, the same kids, the same job, the same environment, the same memories, the same whatever it is. And you're expected to just like be like, okay, I learned, I did all of these process groups. Now I know where all the trauma is coming from, but I don't know what to do with it. Right. So that's where, you know, we have to add things. So I added, where I lived, there wasn't a plethora of AA, right? Like I would have had to travel to a place that wasn't even in my own environment. And so I engaged in a women's group. And it was women with a bunch of varying different problems. I was the only one in there with any kind of an addiction issue or, you know, whatever, but we all had past trauma, and we were just in there supporting each other, and it was therapist led. So, you know, we had direction, and we just had camaraderie, right? Unconditional positive regard for each other. And so, you know, I did that, but I went to school, of course, and just learned everything that there was to learn about addictions. And as it kept going, I kept getting more and more and more intrigued. The first one was the physiological effects of drugs and alcohol, right? So add, edit, delete, right? So, you know, we have this recovery protocol, whatever it might look like, depending upon substance of choice, behavior of choice, or, you know, process that we must do. If our lives are derailed, if we can't do this particular workout at this particular time every single day, if I don't do this, I am an emotional basket case and my entire day falls apart. Like, there's a problem.
Yes, exactly.
That's a problem. We have to be able to say, you know, I prefer to go to it, you know, and it can have a purpose, and we can still go every day. It's not saying don't do it. It's saying change the emotional attachment from a negative to a positive. Be flexible, bendable, pliable in your life. You will be so much more resilient if you do, right? If you find yourself reaching for something outside of you, whatever it is, to bring you peace, comfort, joy, relief, right? Then that's a problem. So if, you know, every time you go to Target and you're in a mood, you notice you come home with 25 things not on your list, that's a problem.
Yeah, it
right?
is.
And it doesn't mean don't go to Target. It doesn't mean live a life feeling punished and restricted. It just means, you know, notice that I don't get to go to Target if I'm irritated, agitated, annoyed, feeling lonely, bored, sad, whatever, because I know me, I'm only going to seek something to fulfill me, and I need to learn how to self-soothe appropriately. Right?
And it's only going to be a temporary solution anyway. And you know that.
So this is that edit, right? This is that edit. And we go, okay, So this piece of that recovery journey, or that self-help book, or that insert your whatever you go to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you get up every day and you listen to Brene Brown, great. Listen with the intent of making the message that resonates with you your own, and apply it in your own life. Edit it to be suitable for you in your own life. The things that don't serve any purpose, delete them.
Yeah.
Right. When I was in early recovery, I always knew where, knew where a meeting was and at what time, because it would have been safer to belly up there than a bar. But, once I got past the post-acute withdrawal period, which for any of you that don't know, it's 2 years. So the first 2 years of a chemical recovery process, is a period where we have post-acute withdrawal. And it's, generally speaking, and I know this from years of watching it happen to other people as well as myself, it takes you out. It's why we have relapses. Even if we point our finger at that death, that car accident, that whatever, that's the external source.
Yeah.
It really lies inside.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
We get to, and this is the best part of it, is I get to be in control, because I get to choose. If I'm irritated, agitated, annoyed, I get to choose if I want to be overbearing and controlling, right? All the things. And I don't choose to be those things anymore. So, I took everything that I learned in school, edited, deleted, made it my own, and applied it in my life. One modality, one tactic, one skill set, one mindset at a time. Right?
I love that. Yeah.
And it's just so perfect, because I literally can't think of one thing that would make me feel like I want to go back to a life where I feel bound by needing something outside of me to make me feel okay.
Because you feel like you're in control for a moment, but then the consequence is out of control and it doesn't relate to you. That's right. So I love the way you've worked it around that. Your natural nature is to be control freak, is to actually go, hey, I'm running the show. But then with that comes the consequence of then getting addicted to things that make you feel better and superhuman for a period of time. And then now you've actually gone, yeah, I can actually still have my natural tendencies of being in control by applying things that I enjoy and make me feel better in my own context for my own reasons, not for anyone else's, which is the problem with a lot of programs, that they are great in themselves, but there's no one-stop shop. There's no one size fits all. So if you don't have that application, that's it. You're on a high. So many of us would have been to a course. Oh my God, I'm going to implement every single thing. It's going to change my life. Woohoo! And then within a few days, you kind of go, oh, that's not going to work here because of X.
Or you're too embarrassed.
Yeah.
Right? You come home and you're like, I can't do that in front of people. Like I can't, be saying my mantra out loud. I can't be, like this. People are going to look at me like I'm crazy.
Like, who are you?
We think we can just sit there and manifest it in our brain, right? Secret sauce for everybody. You cannot manifest anything unless you're willing to get off the couch.
Exactly. You've got to act, and you've got to believe it, right? The doubt's going to be your sabotage. Your fear.
Eat, sleep, breathe, own it.
Yeah. I love it. So this journey of yours, which was crazy and painful over many, many years, led you to actually turn your wound into a superpower, right? That led you to actually do psychology, become an addiction specialist. And not that everybody who works in a certain area has to have suffered in that way, but you've certainly made it your career path, and you have 100% understanding and credentialing and experience in a broad range of these addictions. So what was it like actually doing the theory? Like when you go, but this is who I am, I live and breathe this kind of stuff. And then I'm there doing a psychology degree going, I now need to learn as the practitioner the science behind it all. Was it sort of fascinating to you? Or was it weird?
Yeah, because I was my test case.
Yes, exactly.
Dude, it was so amazing. It was so amazing because, I everything that I was learning, I was going, oh, and then I would test it out, and I was, digging in. And I mean, Julian Rotter's locus of control theory, like my program is just so much about that, right? Like driving down the freeway in Southern California, if you've ever done it, right? Los Angeles, Orange County, like, you got to have some patience, and not too many people do when they're there. I taught myself how to, really, if somebody was tailgating me, right? Because I'm German, Irish, Scottish, Sicilian, Taurus, born on the cusp of Gemini. I ran real hot. Like, don't step on my toe, man, because you know what? You're going to get back 3 times, right?
Yeah.
And so I taught myself, I said, I don't want to be that rough. I don't want to be that edgy. I want to be calm. I want to be kind, caring, giving, compassionate. I want to realize that just because the other person doesn't align with me, that it's their life too, and it gets to look, feel, and be however they want it to.
Yeah.
So driving on the freeway, you got the guy tailgating. So I went from being that hothead that would tap the brake, want to see my bumper, here it is, right? To the person that would move the car over. And I remember very distinctly saying to myself, having the conversation with myself, wow, I have zero idea what's going on in this person's life. It's truly none of my business. I'm just going to move over and get out of the way, wish them well on the way by, and not, physically, because in my neck of the woods, if you raise a hand, you might get shot, right? Like, you never know, right? With road rage. And so, just send them good vibrations as they pass by, and be able to say, wow, I hope wherever he's going, everybody's okay, because I truly don't know if his kid just got hit by a train and he's trying to get to the ER.
Yeah.
Or stayed out all night long and is running late for a meeting. I don't know. It's none of my business. Right. And then I would prove my theory, right? Like I was driving down the freeway another day on a Saturday, and, if, again, Southern California, if you're going 65 in the fast lane, like you need to be in the slow lane, even though 65 is the speed limit. So, I see this trail of people, we're all lined up behind this one car. And so one at a time, everybody's going around them. And I caught myself wanting to give them a look like, what are you doing? And I didn't. I caught myself and I looked, and it was a husband and a wife laughing, living it up, completely enjoying each other's company on a Saturday morning, mind you. Nobody was in a hurry to go to work. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And another time there was, I was going around somebody and I looked, and it was an elderly gentleman with his oxygen tank next to him, up in his nose, right? Clearly just trying to maintain some level of autonomy in his life. And probably just take himself to the store to pick up milk for his wife, or go to a doctor's appointment or whatever. But again, just trying to maintain that autonomy. And he wasn't going below the speed limit. He was just going slower than the rest.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so it was that ability to tap into compassion instead of instant judgment, right? So when we approach life in the stance of a judger, things are uncomfortable. Things are ugly, irritating, and annoying. But when we approach life from the stance of a learner, right, all of the acceptance comes in, right? So you asked me that question, what was it like for me? And it was just like this. I got to observe myself interacting with my environment all day, every day for 5.5 years. And so it was an amazing journey. And all the while I was writing I didn't know it yet, but I was writing my curriculum.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I had to do my stint. I've worked in every single level of addiction recovery. So I know what that's like, even to be a program director, right? A patient care director. And so, I've touched all of those aspects. And it was just an amazing journey. And so, I got to do what most people only get to do in the classroom. I got to do it, with firsthand experience from all perspectives. I also happen to be a parent that has an adult child who struggles with addiction and mental health, right? So I can see it from the parental standpoint. I'm an adult child of addiction. So I can see it from that standpoint, right? And then you add in all the trauma right? And abuse. And you go, wow, I really get to offer people a lot of standpoint. So
do you feel that there is a genetic component to addictive behavior, or is it usually as a result of trauma or personality, or, you know, what's the sort of the stats?
That's a loaded question.
I know, it's pretty wild, isn't it? Because, you know, a lot of things, you know, I'm in the world of so many things are in the genes, you know, and the nature versus nurture. And I'm a mum of 5 as well. And you go, oh, it's amazing. You know, you think you put your heart and your soul into every moment of parenthood. And then you go, wow, it's amazing how much nature still has a hold. So that is just an interesting question for you.
So yes, to all of it. Right. So yes, to all of it. Yes, I believe we have the capability to choose, but we can't have that capability to choose until we have examples of what we get to choose from. Right. So if you are, you know, so yes, genetically we are predisposed. Right. And so, you know, all my kids, especially my biological son, you know, was talked to from the beginning, even though I was still actively a drinker, right? And still struggling. I didn't know what I didn't know then that I know now. But, you know, I always talked to him because he had addiction on my side. He had addiction on his father's side. And on his father's side, they had a congenital heart disease that ran in the males.
Right.
His grandfather died at, you know, at a young age from congestive heart failure. His father died at the exact same age as his father of the same disease. And so, you know, I raised my son with that. You don't get to experiment. You don't understand, you know, this is real. This is real deal. Right now, does he drink? Absolutely. Whatever, you know, but very, you know, he's never had, you know, a problem. But so what we look at is, yes, there's a genetic predisposition, but more so what I think embeds it is that conditioning, right? Because what you know, if I wouldn't have had the conditioning that I had as a child, you know, through adolescence, whatever, I don't know, through my life, if I didn't have that conditioning or that example being led for me and that belief that everybody was fine, right? You know, wine every night with dinner, you know, always, you know, the garage fridge was always full of beer, you know, and, you know, we went camping and there, you know, there was always drinking and the kids were always sneaking off and drinking. And, you know, just, there was always alcohol.
Yeah.
There was always alcohol. But, you know, I want to stem it back to even farther than that, because if we think about it and we keep this on that broad spectrum between our, you know, our relationship with food.
Yeah.
And shopping or whatever it is, it's that, you know, hand to mouth, hand to purse, hand to whatever. If when you're a child, you were, every time you fell down and you scraped your knee, you were given a popsicle. Every time, you know, you got an award, you were given a cake. It was your birthday, you had a celebration, right? All of the things, right? Everything was centered around something to do with what we're going to put in our mouth or what we're going to get, an external something, right? We weren't raised to say, wow, your diploma was an F. We've got to celebrate it too. Right? And I'm not saying don't celebrate. I'm just saying we if we use it as an example, this is how we condition ourselves over time. And it starts in childhood. And so if we have felt punished or restricted in our life as a child, when we get to that place where we really want to, you know, exercise our autonomy to choose, we may, you know, reach out. Like if we're raised by parents that say, you can't drink, addiction runs in the family, it's taboo, it's bad, bad, bad. First thing that teenager's going to do is pick it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, you know, it's more about forming those, you know, those open communications and open dialogues. Lead by the example that you wish to be seen for your children, right? Talk openly. There's no harm in talking about depression, anxiety, needing medication, not needing medication, purpose for them, longevity of them, you know, your relationship with food. I work with so many moms that seriously, like they come to me, they're concerned for their children, picking up their bad behaviors, but they're not ready to talk to them yet. Right. And because they still want to hide their, or, they want to be able to sneak sugar. And so it's that behavioral thing, right? Yeah. It's that behavioral, like I want to have this like secret indulgence, whatever that secret indulgence is.
Yeah.
And that makes them feel good because it's like, I pulled one over on mom, Yeah. And so I think we condition ourselves a lot of times to just be that way. And then it becomes habitual. And I say, dropping habits is the same as dropping an addiction. Like we all need to drop our habits. They are seated in pressure to perform. They are just seated in pressure. And again, like I was talking about, that workout routine that you got to do, or it messes you up in here. Like there should be no connection between the two other than the natural chemical endorphins that our body produces.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So therefore it doesn't need to be that workout. It can be, I don't have time for that. I'm going to do 50 jumping jacks and go on my way. And I'm going to have the same result.
Yeah, exactly. I had an example of that, Tricia. I just done a hike in Tasmania, the southern island of Australia, and it was pretty hardcore in winter, 7 days with a big backpack. And my normal nature is that, I've got to up my weights, do my training, do it all on a program because I love a program, right? I'm a project girl. And then suddenly I had a few things in life happen, that my granddaughter came to stay and things were busy and, I had other opportunities. And I'm like going, wow, like my routine didn't work. My habit sort of had problems. And then instantly, not only yourself, you go, oh my gosh, will I be good enough? Will I, whatever? Or you think if you can't do that thing that you've done all, as your default behavior or habit, then it's kind of like it's all going to be bad. Whereas that's it, so I can actually, I can still do sit-ups. I can still do some skipping. I can still do some other things. And like, that's right. I turned up at the trip. I was totally fine. It's just like, you don't have to be so rigid with these habits. We make them as an absolute, don't we? It's like, if I don't do this, and food's like that. If I don't have it perfect, once I've eaten one chip, I might as well eat the pack.
And that's fear of failure, right? Yeah, if I'm not all in, it won't happen for me, right? Weight loss, diets, big pet peeve of mine. We do not need fad diets. We don't need crash diets. No. We don't need any of that. They're not healthy. They condition bad behavior. It reinforce that reward system.
Yeah.
Right? Because I got to get bikini ready. And I'm talking to everybody right now because I don't know what day this is going to air, but it's June and everybody's talking to me about things like this. Like, I got to get bikini ready. I'm like, go to Target. They sell them all year long. They got your size. I promise. You're bikini ready. You're good. And it took me a long time to get there.
Yeah.
Right. But I know it to be so freeing. Anyway, it's that all or nothing. I go all in. I got to do the whole 30, and I get to the whole 30, and it's like, woohoo! Or they do that, the crash diet before the vacation. And then what do they do for vacation? They ruin it.
Yeah. They drink and eat the whole time.
They drink and they eat all the, the everything, and they come home 20 pounds heavier. And it's like, oh no, now now you got another reason to go on yet another crash diet, which is so bad for our physical functioning.
Yo-yo behavior is just extra. It's just like, and it then comes up with a fear of them. Every time you do that, then you're less confident it's going to work, because if you've had to do it 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, you'll go, oh, here we go again. So your belief in the success is also reduced, right?
Right. That's why we got to do things that make them lifelong, manageable, and maintainable.
Yeah.
Always with that room for continued growth. Like, I continue to grow. People think I'm nuts, or I shouldn't say people think I'm nuts, but I'm very open to say that I am not afraid to admit that I will get up and I will listen to my own program.
Yeah.
If I need it, right? Like, or, just to make sure, like, I'm feeling a little off balance, and I'll turn on the module on balance, and, or be resilient. I'll pick something there, like I'm having control issues. I'll turn that on and I'll listen to it. And people are like, and I'm like, sometimes I don't have time to seek out, a colleague, or, and I consider everybody that's in the same kind of mindset realm as I am as a colleague. Collaboration over competition, all day long, every day. Like, nobody else that's a coach that does anything similar to me is my competition. They are an opportunity to collaborate, learn, change, shift, grow, morph, and be even better. But that doesn't mean that my regular day in and day out functioning has a very specific way, right? And so if there's something that I feel like I'm missing, I know exactly where to go to hear exactly what I know to be true, right? Because
well, you got to practice what you preach, right? Otherwise, what's it all about? And that's it. It's actually revealing that authenticity. That's right. Even coaches, you have good times and bad times. You have frustrated times. You have times that you go, oh my gosh, I'm not where I was, because of a situation. You can lose confidence. You can have a bad run of things, like we all, and that's actually normal. Ebbs and flows are normal, right? And that's what I love what you were sharing before. Like when you're talking with your young kids, whatever, that's right. There are times of all emotions, happy, sad, angry, frustrated. Life does make we shouldn't always have to be happy. We shouldn't always be frustrated like you were in the car. It's like exploring what are normal emotions and situations, and then how do you deal with them? How do you adjust to them? And then, that's right, that sense of control, that you can control your response, you can control your choices, you can control your habits, right? It's amazing.
You get to choose. If you don't like the way it feels, looks, sounds, change it. Adjust the filter that you're hearing through. Find a different lens, right? Pick a different pathway. You get to choose. So people that sit wallowing, ruminating with this big old heavy bag of the past, and they're, I'm so depressed, or, they can't move forward because they just can't let go of this knapsack of stuff. Like, we've got to unpack it. Because even past traumas, I don't care how bad they were. Like, I've been there. Like, that doesn't define me. They also can't hurt me again. Right?
Exactly.
Like, they've come and they've gone.
That has been done. Yes, exactly.
They've come and gone. There's no take backs. There's no do-overs. Right? Like, that particular event has happened already. And so I need to look at that, and I need to see where the learning experience is, see where that true warrior survivor is in that. Like, I made it through all that stuff. Like, I'm not on a shelf.
Freaking awesome.
Check it out. Like, that's my diploma right there. Right? Like, I moved through that, like, and you can too. And then throw the stuff away that doesn't serve you, like the mean words of other people. Get rid of the luggage, and then you'll be able to stand up into today. Right. And then when you have that future tripping, anxiety inducing mindset of, you're just looking so far with a what if anxiety, right? What if it doesn't come true? What if this happens? What if that bad thing happens? What if? Well, dude, it might not. Most of the time and I suffered with generalized anxiety disorder that had severe panic for that 5 years. Right. And I'm doing life without that now, and medication free, the whole 9 yards, because here's the deal. I don't live out there anymore. I just don't live out there anymore. And I keep my sights in a manageable space. Depending, like, it ebbs and flows. Like, sometimes I need to broaden my perspective, but other times I need to narrow my perspective. Case in point, doing the bridge climb in Australia. Okay.
Great.
If I would have, I knew it was a challenge for me. Not so much the going up, the being up there, but the coming down, right? That was my fear.
Yeah, sure.
But I did it, and I did it with without an incident, without an episode. And then I got on a wave runner and rode it around off the coast of Fiji for like 3 hours. I got off it, got in the water, swam around. It was great. Went in caves. I've done zip lining, all these things that, you know, the what ifs would have, you know, gone in my way of enjoying an experience. But also those what ifs, you know, what if I say this and then they don't like me? What if somebody says I'm stupid? Yeah. What if I make a mistake, right? Like I wasn't a public speaker until, I mean, outside of, you know, my industry.
Yeah.
Right. Outside of my industry. And it took the pandemic to get me to go, get out here and talk to people. Right. Mm-hmm. And so inside of hardship, you can either you can sit down and drink every day, fill your belly full of food and wallow in it on the couch every day, or you can get up and add, edit, delete, make it work for you.
Yeah. What do you want? Hey, what does it look like? Do it. I know.
All you got to do. That's all you got to do. Right.
Exactly.
And people can go back to this time last year. My backdrop didn't look like this, you know, but I didn't care. I was like, I have things to say and I can't get out and go touch people's lives. So I'm just going to hop on whatever place will let me talk so that somebody, you know, so I can reach somebody and touch somebody's life today.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Here we are. Oh my gosh, I can go on and on and on listening to you. You're an amazing lady.
So be careful with that because I'll talk your face off.
Which is saying something because I am known to be a big talker. So let me talk about your business then. So what programs do you have and how do you serve people going through those addictions now? What do they, you know, what value will they get from turning to you and your business?
Well, thank you for asking. I have 2 signature programs, or I have, you know, my flagship, the one that's been the tried and true here, you know, from the very foundation, and that's Transform in 360. If I was to tell you, you know, it's the copywritten trademark is building milestones. And so it was originally, you know, building milestones. It was a 275-page workbook, right? Like it's where I started. And then it, you know, it transitioned into the Learn to Live Free. So Learn to Live Free is the course. The program is Transform in 360. With that, you get the Strengthening Your Resilience, which is a 31 episode training on resilience, right? And how to add, edit, delete, and make it your own. And so Transform in 360 it's 30 individual lessons broken down into 9 different modules that are very specific sections of practical tactics seated in evidence-based practice that have been transformed into the coaching model. To kind of go back to what you said about my education, I actually did I studied coaching as an effective psychological practice and wrote my capstone on that because I wanted to be able to prove that we don't have to sit in, right? We can be coached and go forward, right? Anyway, so Transform in 360, it's a 12-week course, 9 modules, 30 lessons. There's a coaching corner. You get 360 minutes of my time every month, you know, for that 3-month period. And strengthening your resilience. And then we have, you know, for people that like community, it's not mandatory, but we do have a group that's available on Monday evenings for live skill set training and to just kind of hear how other people maybe that are ahead of you are using it or, you know, how they, you know, might have similar stories. And then my baby program is Evolve, and it's not a baby and small, it's my baby, it's my passion. And that is for those people that truly want to go the whole 9 yards and fully evolve. So it's Transform in 360. The next section is another 12-week program, and it's called Attain, right? So this is all of that esteem building. Now we've got the tactics, we've got the life skills, we are, we're very stabilized and we're functioning and we've got, life balance on our side, but we need those esteem building activities. We need that place to develop our voice, to actually, because it takes people a long time at the end of the first 12 weeks, if I was to ask somebody, how do you want to see yourself? Who's your celebrity crush or avatar person? Like, give me an image of what you want to feel like in your life and describe that to me. They generally can't do that at that time. So in attain, it's all about what do you want to attain? And then we start looking at those areas. And then in maintain is where we really seed it in lifelong maintainability. But we also learn how to invite our environment to see us in our new way, to experience us in our new way, and to be able to allow us to lead by a new example, right? So now when people come and ask you a question, you're able to, articulate in your own words through add, edit, delete, what works so well in your life. Because my clients come to me all the time, they're like, oh, my friends are saying, what are you doing different? Like, there's not anything different about you, but there's something, and all of these things. So evolve is for those people that are just really ready to own themselves, right? Just, this is my life, and this is, I want it all. And it's also for some higher severities, right? Like, sometimes my Transform in 360 is literally just that, stabilization period. For people that come in and they don't need detoxification or clinical stabilization, right? So this could be, just an addiction with anything, people pleasing, codependency. Like, that just doesn't go away. If you've got 30 years of conditioned ways of being, I can't completely undo that in 12 weeks, in 12 weeks, right? Like, I can give you a good solid foundation. And if you're committed to yourself, you can do it on your own, or you can stay with me and have access to me for a solid year. Evolve's only 9 months, but it's a solid year. And I know everybody's like, 9 months, like, that's a big commitment. So a lot of times people will start there, and then we just add. And then we add, right? Building milestones, right? Building milestones. And so those are my programs. And I, and in there's a whole lot of, other really, cool interactive things, day planners and journals and brief books and, again, resiliency. And I'm always adding things. We never know what I'm going to add next.
Yeah. I love that. You always want to have a next surprise. And what is your website, Tricia? How will they find you there?
I can be found at turningleavesrecovery.com. I can be found at triciaparido.com, just like it's spelt at the bottom there in that corner by my window. You can just Google my name.
You're right? Very yes.
Right. And anybody that's listening, if you want to, learn or hear more, feel free to hit me up and say, hey, I heard you on Annie's show, right? And we'll definitely, we'll get on the phone and we'll chat, and I'll explain any questions that you have. Absolutely no obligation. So don't hesitate to reach out and say, hey, I like this, or I like that. Tell me more about, or, just whatever. I like to talk.
Yeah. You like to talk, and you like to care, and you love to help people on their journey of success. And this podcast is all about, it's called Memoirs of Successful Women, and you're definitely a successful woman. And I'd love to finish the program then by sort of asking you, so what does success mean to you? For you to be a successful woman at this stage in your business and life journey, what does that mean?
Wow. Again, a loaded question, right? Because for me, it's multifaceted, right? Like, my personal life, my relationship with myself is rock solid. That imposter syndrome, fear of failure to launch, like, that's gone. But I'm still coachable, right? Like, I have my peeps. Everybody needs a coach, man. But so that's my, personal relationship with myself. My relationships within my family unit are so healthy, right? Like, that to me is success. Not that they ever weren't, but it is so much more, right? And the way that I interpret my environment is healthy. But when we're talking about, as an entrepreneur, right, memoirs of successful women, for me, it's I'm still here, right? Like I've been open after 5.5 years. I'm still here. I still have people coming, and people are still growing, changing, morphing, healing, recovering every day. And, have I hit my spot? No, but will I ever? I don't know. Like, I don't believe in a glass ceiling. Yeah. The only thing that would make me even more successful would be, just to have even more people come, right?
Yeah. Keep doing
just to have even more people come.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Or organizations. And, I love doing work with, companies with their employee mental health. Like that for me is a lot of fun also.
I love that. I love that. The way you articulate that. And for those listening in, that's exactly what we talk about. And that's what I talk about in my coaching about success. You can hear that Tricia has defined success on her own terms. And that looks very different for every person, right? And so it's linked to what you value and getting that balance right and putting your time and your energy and your finances and your heart into those areas, right? And also what is total joy, and I know that from all the amazing women that I interview, is actually go, how blessed am I that I'm actually living my dream? Like your dream is to go, how can I be more successful? Keep doing what I'm doing. Allow me to serve more people, be able to put more things out, to actually keep growing in my essence. And that is just golden. That's a golden nugget, right? That those listening in.
Yeah, you said that so much better than me.
I don't think so.
That's what I meant.
The summary. Yeah.
I like that.
Awesome. Well, everyone, tap into definitely. I will leave all of Tricia's contact details on my podcast platform. As you know, with everything that I do, I'm all about collaboration over competition. I'm a business and life transformation coach, but I'm no addiction specialist. I don't know about how to be able to specifically mentor and support and coach people going through specific times like that. So, I'm all into building our networks and really, making sure that people know what's available and who would be an expert in specific spaces. And so I encourage you, if this is your area, this is your area of challenge, this has been an area of just really wound and trauma, and you're over it, right? But you need to know what's the next step. Definitely reach out to Tricia, and you will be seriously blessed by the care and support that she will offer you. So thank you so much for being on my program today, Tricia.
Oh my gosh, it's been such an amazing blessing. What a gift. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Memoirs of Successful Women. You can find me at anniegibbins.com, where you can download my free resources, get connected on social, and check out my online magic transformation program. If you love this show, feel free to subscribe to future episodes and, of course, share it with your friends. I'll see you again soon, and until then, happy podcasting.